Hey guys, welcome back to a new video. I'm Stephanie Fisher. I'm a licensed counselor here in the state of Michigan, and I am owner and operator of In Progress Counseling. Today I'm going to talk about a reframe that I use with a lot of clients where they might come in and insist that something is a problem. And I will often frame it into parts of this reality are problematic, and these are the ways that it's problematic. And the reason that actually matters a great deal that we don't frame things into, hey, this in its entirety is a problem, is because problems often want solutions. My brain, when it sniffs out a problem, often wants to generate solutions. And what can happen is if there's not a solution, and I framed it as a problem, my brain works on kind of this whirling dervish of energy trying to figure out solutions because I've identified a problem. It's what the brain often will do, even with little prompting from us. A lot of our brains tend to really lean towards solutions because we don't like ambiguity and uncertainty. So what happens when someone comes in framing things as a problem, I will often try to step us back and say, okay, in what ways is this problematic? Because I don't know that this thing in and of itself is a problem. What I mean by that, let's say that it's snowing. Is that a problem? Well, no, not really. That's Mother Nature, and I live in Michigan, and so that's a reality that happens. Okay, let's say this big squall is happening overnight. So now there's going to be a big dumping of snow. Is that a problem? Well, not really, unless I have a place to go. Now, okay, I have somewhere to go the next day. Is it a problem that it's snowing? Well, if it's now turning into like big vacillations in temperature and now it's thawing and then refreezing and it's becoming black ice, well now, because I have to go somewhere, that does become quite problematic. But that's a context-specific issue that I can now deal with that reality. When snowing is a problem and I frame it as a problem, there's a whole lot of things mechanistically that happen in me when I see snow. So what I do with clients and what I do in my own kind of processing of the world is I really work hard to not use the kind of global accusation of, hey, that's a problem, but I look inside of my fear and say, okay, what parts of it are actually problematic? Is snow a problem? No. Is a big snow overnight a problem? Not necessarily. Is a big night of snow overnight a problem when I wake up the next day and have to go to work? Well, it might become problematic. Now, if there's thawing and refreezing, okay, now it's maybe becoming quite problematic. And then when the roadways are, when the news is talking about the roadways becoming impassable, well, now we have a valid issue going on here, right? And then I have to deal with that reality. But all along the way, as I frame it through problematic scenarios unfolding, then I can meet each of those pieces with some type of, okay, what do I want to do with that reality? When it's a global, oh, it's snowing, this is a problem, there's not a lot for me to do with that fear or with that observation. And so we'll often go into the awareness of something being problematic and say, okay, what do we do with that reality, that reality, that reality? So another example I'll often use with clients is, let's say they come to me and the frustration is morbid obesity. And they're sitting there saying, Steph, the scale says 250 pounds, that's a problem. Well, in general, there are pieces of your health that might be affected by that number. That there's pieces of your health for which that number might be problematic. Is that number in and of itself a problem? I don't know. It's a starting point. What do we want to do that, because this is your starting point, there are pieces along the way in your other health metrics that are affected? Well, we'll deal with that reality. We'll start to go through and say, okay, I want the weight to reduce, but I also want my blood pressure to improve. I also want my blood sugars to stabilize. There's a whole bunch of things going on that add a lot of complexity to my choices and my decision-making, not just the number on the scale. If the number on the scale is a problem, if the snow falling is the problem, it leaves these global sensations of disease and distress and frustration and overwhelm. When I start to see certain pieces of this development as problematic, and I start to wonder, what do I do with those realities? It actually can start giving my brain pathways to do actual good problem solving when I stop viewing everything as global problems.